Hello, my name is Douglas Robinson. I'm a solutions consultant with Beyond 20. In this video, we're going to be reviewing a nifty little trick you can do on a form within Cherwell, which will be how to disable something until the point in time in which you have saved a record. So as an example of this, just at the very beginning of our video here, you'll notice if I open a new incident, at the very beginning of this incident process, I can't click on the next Begin Work button. Now this is going to be an example of this configuration in which I actually can't do anything on this record. I must have caps lock on. I can't do anything on this record until I save it. So you'll notice if I very quickly fill out a ticket here and then I save the record, I have to fill out priority because that's a required field first. If I do that, then you'll notice the next Begin Work button is suddenly enabled. So this video is going to discuss how we can configure certain aspects of a form within Cherwell to be disabled until such time as a user has saved the record. Now if I open up the Cherwell Administrator tool and I create a new blueprint, I'm going to open up the incident default form and we'll take a look at our disabled expression for that control. So we only have one logical statement or one logical comparison in our disabled expression for the next status button, and that is whether the incident.isNew field is equal to true. So if that value is evaluated to true, then we disable the next button. Now some of you who aren't very familiar with Cherwell might be asking, well, what is this isNew field and how is it calculated? So the isNew property, I'm going to call this a property because it's not actually a field, is not actually a field. So you'll notice if you go and look in your list of fields, it doesn't show up in the normal list that isn't grouped into folders, and if you start scrolling through this list of folders, you will eventually find the isNew field or property, but it's not under a folder that you can actually configure. It's part of this list of automatic fields or properties for an incident. So isNew is one of these values. You also have options for isModified, has attachments, attachment count, what the final state of this record is, a join reason if there is one, what the plural name of this type of record is, so incidents for incident, what the recall state is, and finally a type ID. So these are some very handy properties for an incident that are going to be available for every business object you look at, and they're always going to show up under this automatic folder. And here we're taking a look at the isNew property. Now this one evaluates whether or not a user has saved a new record or not. So if you go and look at an existing record, isNew is always going to be false. isNew gets set to true when you perform a command somewhere within Cherwell that creates a new business object and you haven't yet clicked on the save button. So with that explanation aside, if we wanted to add this disable expression to another control on the screen, for example, if we didn't want users to take ownership or escalate the record until after it had been saved, then we could select both of those and we could add this same isNew expression to their or evaluation to their disabled expressions as well. So a very quick shortcut to get to this is you open up your major business object, and I'm just going to press A and key down to the automatic folder, and inside that folder you'll see this property here for isNew. Now we want isNew to be equal to true when we're disabling this, so I'm going to leave this value as true because we're disabling these controls anytime we find isNew to be true. I'm going to apply these changes to the form and then I'll publish my blueprint. I'm on a local dev environment, so I'm not saving a blueprint, but if you were working on an actual dev environment of your own that needs to be maintained and contains changes that will eventually move over to your test or production environments, you do want to save a blueprint and a rollback just in case you need to roll these changes back in the future. After you publish, or after you try to publish your blueprint, you'll get a message letting you know whether any errors have been found during the scanning process. If we click OK on that, our publishing process will finish, and we can then go back into the Cherwell Rich client and review our changes in the Technician client. So I really quickly went up to the help menu and I selected reload definitions. If you've just made this change in your environment, you're always going to want to reload definitions before you go to evaluate that change, because the changes may not show up immediately in your client otherwise. Once you've done that, you can go to the new menu, select new incident, assuming we've made this change on incident, and we now have more controls on our incident being disabled until the point in time when we save that incident. So this is a very simple configuration change that you can make, and it can have a pretty big impact on how your users are going to be evaluating the workflow of your forms. So if you want to drive certain functions to not be executed until such time as someone has actually saved the record, this is a good way to do so. If you'd like to see other videos like this one, or if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them underneath the comment section of this video, and subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/beyond20llc.